there are all these like dev tools popping up around AI because the infrastructure layer is being built out. So
Yeah.
it's a great time to be a product person because it's all about figuring out what those use cases are because that's wide open. Hi, I'm Shabano and I'm here with Tyler and Drew.
Hello.
Hello.
We're three product people from a company called Differential. Differential works with companies from startups all the way to enterprise to help them design, build, and launch digital products. And today we're going to have some fun reimagining consumer products that were built before generative AI was a thing and talk about what AI features we would add if we were building them now. So the reason we want to look at consumer products is that consumer is now being invested in again. Like
Mhm.
for almost the last 10 years, investors shied away from consumer products. Like if you had an app for consumers, the thing to do would be to pivot into something else. It was kind of like all the tar pit problems were in consumer. But now with the new generative AI tools, consumers like making a comeback. I want to put a few caveats out there before we start talking about this. One is that we are product people. So when we're suggesting ideas, we're not asserting the technical viability of something. We're not saying, oh, this can be done using RAG or by fine tuning a model. And we're not going to talk about the stack. We're just focused solely on the use cases. So from the perspective of product, where can we apply AI to create the most value for the user, the most ROI for the product? And I want to see if you guys have anything in mind for like AI features that are out in the world that are already just like doing this. So the first thing I think of is like Amazon reviews. There's like a little AI generated blurb at the top of all Amazon reviews now. So if you go to an Amazon product page, which I did yesterday, I was trying to get a fly swatter. The AI generated review is so useful. I always read it because this one was like, oh, this swatter has a really short length. The stick is really short, so you have to get really close to the bug. And I'm so glad I saw that. Obviously not going to get that one, but that to me is providing real value because what if I had missed that? Now I have to get this like super short fly swatter. So to me, that's a great use of an LLM feature that's put into an existing product. And then the other thing I think is like a mindset set shift for people thinking about ChatGPT not as an LLM. I mean, the LLM is GPT-4. It's just the language generation part. ChatGPT is a very complex application. So you have like image generation in there. You can uh, upload a photo to it. So there's like computer vision stuff happening. Plus, there's a whole like full stack app infrastructure. You know, there's a phone app, a desktop app now, a web app. So ChatGPT is not just an LLM. It's not just that one feature. It's this huge thing that's designed in the age of generative AI that includes a lot of parts to it that isn't just the LLM. And so I think that's how we want to think about these new apps as they're going to look like they're only this one thing. They might be simpler, but a lot is happening behind the scenes.
I want to think about something you said in your intro here. And it's there was like consumer apps, and then VCs ran out of ideas. So they started to put their money basically in safer areas. And whenever I think about what you're saying, I'm thinking the consumer apps were product driven. And then after we figured out what products to make, then there wasn't any new product ideas to like come up with. So that's why VCs didn't know what to do with any of the money. And it's almost like now we're back to the point that we started with where we got to come up with interesting product ideas. That's why
Oh, yeah.
ChatGPT was just like a chat. We're almost at the very beginning of the product again.
There are all these like dev tools popping up around AI because the infrastructure layer is being built out. So
Yeah.
it's a great time to be a product person because it's all about figuring out what those use cases are because that's wide open.
Right.
Really good point.
Well, and it feels like the first wave of AI integration was just, can you put ChatGPT in your app?
Yeah.
Can you just put a little
Yeah.
chat
Right.
box down in the corner? And I think
Right.
now that was like the first pass. Now it's like there's generative AI, there's more, customized models that you can use. You can try and apply it to your experience. And now it's like, can you fundamentally rethink how your product and someone experiences your product in an age where AI is built in first and comes in not as just a chat interface. So I think like moving past
Yes.
the chat interface has been pretty interesting to see. And I think that evolution is going to continue.
I heard someone say that a question answer bot is like the hello world of coding LLMs.
Mm.
So yeah, that makes total sense to
That's
me.
perfect. The interesting thing too is that there's a natural evolution that's happened where part of it is rethinking the experience, but there's also part of it that's just how can you apply AI as a technology and how it's evolving now to things that we've wanted to do forever. So like,
Yes.
just generate like recommendations and algorithms, like what Amazon, using them as the example, like what they do, that just gets better with AI. It can take in more preferences, it can consume larger amounts of data, it can do more pattern matching. So I feel like there's like, it's very interesting because it's a world of, you can rethink it entirely, but you can also just figure out like, how can we just make this thing that we've always wanted to do better as a result of where the technology is today?
It's like former tar pit problems, former things where you're like, ah, that can't be solved. Now those are up for grabs. Okay, let's get started. So, the first category we're going to start with is retail and shopping. So, this is online shopping, and I have a lot of opinions about this. But who wants to go first?
Here, I can jump on. I had one
Okay.
that was interesting that I was thinking about was the wave of like virtual try-ons was a thing. You know,
Mm.
there's AR became a thing where, you could use the Target app and it'll show you your chair in your space. And, it'd still do ridiculous things like the size would be off or like how you
Yeah.
took the picture. So, the technology wasn't quite there. And then I think like shoes and glasses, like Warby Parker did it for like augmented
Oh yeah.
try-ons. But I thought it'd be super interesting. I mean, you could probably take that further to some degree with AR and current technologies, but I even thought like AI personas almost. Like imagine a video of yourself that has
Oh,
the
yeah,
clothes
video.
on or the shoes on or the glasses like that you can just watch. I mean, it would be super trippy to watch a video of yourself like an AI persona that's wearing it. It's like the Vision Pro persona that's a little bit
Whoa.
ghosty, but that'd be
Yeah.
super cool to see like a full body shot. Like you're walking around in a space in a video trying on whatever current product you're looking at would be super interesting.
There could be an AI generated crowd that like tells you if you look good or not, right?
It's like the
What's your
hype
goal?
crowd.
Yeah, what's your goal of
Right.
what you're wearing in the first place?
Well, I feel like so this is a great idea because it targets two other really painful parts of online shopping. One is like sizing. You always have to order two sizes of everything and then go and return. I feel like AI can definitely help in that regard. And then two is color. Like if I could get a super personalized newsletter with new products that came out from the place I like to shop that are in the colors that look good on me, and then like you said, see a video of it on, I would buy that immediately. I would buy that right away. Yeah. And then also, I feel like search, obviously, generative AI has changed search through RAG. You can have now like generate answers based on pulling data from different databases. So, rule based databases plus generative AI. And you can produce really relevant results for vague queries. So, what by vague queries, I mean like natural language queries. So if I said I want an off the shoulder long sleeve shirt in mauve, it should be able to give me accurate results for that versus I think if I go to a search now and type that in, I'm not really going to get anything. So I feel like there's something to that. And I would be really surprised if for all of those ideas, the virtual try on, the improved search, if companies don't already exist for doing that.
Well, and even if you think about like just using Amazon as an example, I mean, it's a wild experience to try and filter down what you want. It's like prime review,
Yeah.
star
Yeah.
rating. There's so many things. And I almost think about it from a custom GPT standpoint where you can preload it with the context. It's like, I always want things that are above 4 stars. I'm very curious on the
Yeah.
people that are selecting
Yeah.
less than that, just in general. What are you looking for? I want the worst product possible. Maybe it's for like intentionally bad reviews. But I mean, if you preloaded that data, I love that idea with AI where it's context that carries with you two different experiences. So then you can just, that that's already there. And I think there's a very interesting world where you can blend in-store physical shopping, like just go to
Hmm.
Whole Foods and like you're buying things online as well. Like we do a lot of that. It's like buying in both spots, but can you unify that experience a little bit more? Carry that same context between both locations, like do personalizations across both of those things that you're buying in each either physical location or the digital location, which I think would be really interesting.
Yeah.
That's true. I feel like I use whatever place I'm buying stuff from, I use their online cart as my to do list when I go in person. So I'm already using both when I'm
Yep.
in there.
Yeah. The personalization seems like the key there almost. Like you would need a AI for personalization specifically so that it can find all this stuff for you and you don't have to personalize with every single store you go to. it seems annoying as a consumer to have to need personalization per store rather than personalization in a single instance that then is distributed out to all the consumer apps.
Oh, you're saying it's annoying to like provide that information again to each
Yeah,
place?
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, I could see that. I mean, I feel like we get these apps are already really good and like places, websites already really good at personalizing. But yeah, they're pulling from your behavior just interacting with them and not somewhere else. So you're saying you need a AI that like one of those variables that what was that called? Limitless? What was
Yep,
that?
the
What was that
limitless, yeah,
thing?
the limitless pendant, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so you just
oh
want a
yeah,
robot spying on you at all times so that you can then get super personalized ads and buy stuff. Yes.
yeah. I mean, I think ad companies want that too.
Of course.
That way, you're not
Yeah.
guessing around behavior or guessing around anything.
If you guys have done that thing where you take a photo and you send it to ChatGPT and you ask what expression is on my face? No. Oh, you've done that? I've done that and I
True.
feel like it's extra nice.
Oh,
Like it's being like, "Oh, you look pensive" instead of "you look exhausted. You should get some sleep."
right. That's why you need that like percentage gauge of like how harsh of a critic do you want to be, or how
Wait,
not,
you,
how
you need do you remember
friendly.
Tars? Was it
Yeah, that's what I
Tars?
was thinking about.
In
Yeah,
what is that movie?
the
Oh,
Matthew
Interstellar,
McConaughey.
turn
Yeah.
his
right,
sarcasm up or down, yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. I would say humor 100%, honesty 100% go. That would be my
Mm-hmm.
setting for Tars.
So what about here's an idea. So like smart assistants, like chat voice driven ones, like having those
Hmm.
chatbots and voice assistants around in these shopping experiences could be interesting. Like I thought about it in
Okay.
stores. It's like, where can I find canned beans? You just sort of ask it. I don't know if you're just shouting the name of whatever
Canned
device, the
beans.
Amazon device. You're just shouting it, and people are talking. But could you use these chatbots in real environments too, where you just sort of
Yeah,
tap it and ask it questions like, how can I help? And it'll tell you where to go or, where your order is, or I wonder if that could be integrated in the real environment. You could do it on,
I've always,
Amazon.com
yeah.
too.
Oh yeah. That sounds like can they put that into Home Depot because I feel like the people there don't really help you anymore or know where anything is.
And you can never find
So I
them.
would want you can never
You
find
never
them. Yeah,
find them.
they're
And they're
gone.
always, and when you find them, they're always helping somebody else. So then you just awkwardly
Yeah.
loiter around them for 20 minutes.
Right.
Here's a question. Is it more beneficial for the person that works in Home Depot to be more enabled through an AI, or do you want to eliminate that person and you are talking to an AI that the company controls or you control? Like, who is getting enabled here? Is it the
Well,
sales representative or is it the company as a whole? Because if it's the company as a whole, then I don't know. I almost want the human element in there. And maybe they just need more help.
Yeah, I mean, it would be well from a consumer standpoint. It depends on how introverted you are. I don't want to have to talk to a human being,
Yeah.
so it feels a lot easier to just I don't have to hunt down that person. But you do lose the human connection. There's the company side of you lose the human side, but you also don't have to hire and maintain that employee. So does it lower the company costs? Sure, but at what cost to the overall brand?
companies, retailers all over, in-person retailers have hired people who are no longer experts in the thing. Like I do feel like a few years ago at Home Depot, you could go and someone would show you what kind of wood to get if you had no idea. But you don't get that now. So at least give us an LLM.
I feel like if it was part of the experience in their brand that they were really engaged and super helpful, but that just
Yes.
depends on your interaction with the person. I feel like that normally is not the case. Normally it's very transactional and it's just point me to the direction I need to go, or I have a question between these two products, which feels very LLM answerable. It doesn't, that can be solved by that. So maybe the human interaction becomes different. You hire more high quality human employees that can provide a better experience. Maybe they do put them in key locations where they can give you more info. Maybe it just changes the experience. It's not about removing them. You just sort of redirect their attention.
Okay, anything anyone else wants to add here before we move on to the next topic?
I've always wanted something with a grocery store. You mentioned grocery store because there's such a connection of data between I run a kitchen in my house. I have all these ingredients in my pantry and in my refrigerator, and they all expire at different times. And I want to know what to buy, and I don't know how to cook because nobody taught me. So I have to go find a recipe. And then I have to go to the grocery store and I have to decide what's the better deal, and on and on and on. And there's like not an experience that goes all the way from my pantry to the grocery store and back again. And I've never seen an app that does that. And it just seems like it's right for a bunch of innovation from start to finish. Like either you focus on the pantry or you focus on a shopping list or you focus on the store on the inside, but there's no sweeping experience through all three phases of that.
That area is like recipes and like meal planning and how you generate a grocery list from what you need and what you want to cook. Like all of that area, like if you could just have that full, there is a full experience there to be solved that I don't think anything has solved. I always have it in my head to build some recipe builder app, but I
Yeah.
want something where it knows all the things that I have on hand, and you can even just ask it based on what I have. Like I'm feeling this cuisine, what can I make? Or you want to like plan a full week's worth of meals based on what you have and what you need to buy. And you could even throw in like budget levels too. If it starts knowing like what
Yeah.
stores, how much
And
things
amount of people.
cost, I only want to
Right.
spend, $50 at the store this week for this meal. It can start putting that together, personalize it for you. And then if that somehow connects to the shopping experience when you get there, or, is there some overlap with the Instacarts of the world where that can just be piped to them, they hand it
Yeah.
off, or you go in the store and it's just sitting there. Like I feel like that whole experience could be changed.
Okay, so I have a question for both of you about this because what you just laid out in detail is the most classic tar pit problem. I actually personally know people who started this company, some who pivoted, some who are still in it. The question I have is how do LLMs or generative AI, which is good at generating information, combining different data sets, semantic search, how does that help solve a piece of this problem?
I see it solving the problem. The LLM side would purely be managing all that data. So all of the things that I currently have, how that gets into the system, I don't know. Right now, it's just manual entry. You have some sort of Notion database or a spreadsheet that has all of the inventory of things that you have. You could go down the level of like, people have done this before. They take a picture of the refrigerator and ask ChatGPT, like, what can I make with this? Which is crazy because it can't see everything, in the picture,
Right.
but gives you some sense. So I think all of that data paired with it is good at finding recipes and ideas. If you give it parameters of how you like to cook or what your diet looks like, it can match those things pretty well. So I think it works in that context, or it's like managing the data and personalizing what you can make based on what you have or what you want to go and buy at the store. But I do think, yeah, there's obviously huge gaps in what it's going to ultimately solve. This is where like AI just becomes like the catch-all when it's like, well, currently talking about LLM specifically, it's good at pattern matching and pulling in lots of data and doing pattern recognition. So what can it solve related to that is the question.
Okay, let's move on to the next one. This one's exciting. Job search. And I'll kick it off. I would love if Glassdoor had a feature just like Amazon reviews where it gave you a summary of all the Glassdoor reviews and just explained how toxic that company is. From the AI side, actually, there could be some interesting things like maybe you could do an initial employee screening through an LLM, which that seems dangerous. That seems risky because it might have biases. It might just not go well, but maybe there's some potential there. Things that you have to talk to people about to discover. Maybe some of that could be presented through an LLM. Although if I was looking for a job, I would be talking to ChatGPT.
Well, what's the problem with job search right now? Isn't it that employees have to apply to 8 billion jobs and they get rejected from all of them to boost the company's numbers up? Like, I don't really know. I haven't had a job search in the era of the crisis of job searching.
Well, I think part of the issue that people bring up is that employers often post jobs that they're not really hiring for. And
Yeah.
so when you're applying for a job, you're applying to hundreds of jobs and you're hoping to get an interview. And then often employers are posting jobs where they plan to hire internally, but it's their policy to also explore externally. So I think the best way to get a job is through a personal connection, which if you're early on in your career, you're not going to have that.
So then how would
Um,
we enable someone with AI to enhance their personal connections? Maybe that's the key
mhm.
to figure
That's a
out
good
here. And
question.
we have to skirt the hellish landscape of
Right.
the existing infrastructure, right?
Okay, given that, I feel like maybe something that helps you speed up the process of networking and reaching out to people and just letting them know you're looking for work.
Yeah, I feel like the hard part with jobs are it's like it takes a lot of work to make sure that you're visible enough or you're seen so that you can get to the interview process. It's like before that, it's all just relying on how closely your resume and cover letter and like all these just strict inputs match whatever the company has specified. But the issue too is that they tend to not do a great job of making it super detailed. Like it's kind of generic enough that it catches too many people. So then there's just like this weird filtration happening. So I think it can almost like be fixed on both sides. It's like if you write a really good job description, you could potentially have an LLM that prompts you with better questions to ask in the job on like the job search side, where you answer very specific questions that are they're not generic, they're very specific about this role that can help kind of vet that individual person and potentially get them in, which I think could be interesting. And I think it's just in general you can get a better match between those two things. Like I know we had dating as one of the other categories, but I feel like job search matching people and their skills with like a company and its desires and needs, it's very much a dating exercise, you know. I don't know if we want to like overlap those two things, but it really
Yeah.
is like you're trying to figure out like how do those two things match. And I do think there's an opportunity for AI to connect those pieces better, but it does require a system where the company's entering everything and somebody's entering all their data and it can match appropriate jobs based on that.
Yeah. No, I think that's a great analogy, the dating and job search. That seems both seem equally hopeless and number oriented, like you need a high volume of attempts. Actually, unrelated, somebody posted on TikTok about a website that their company runs resumes through for when they're hiring. So it's already and it's an AI and it basically like gives your resume a score. And so they're putting that out there and saying put your resume through this before you're applying for jobs because employers are doing this. Which to me that's kind of concerning. Like I don't know how accurate that's going to be and everyone's career is unique. So I don't know about that. This sounds like a great transition into the dating idea. And I like that you brought up matching because I think matching is an important piece. But the question I have is dating apps right now are horrible at matching. Is that on purpose? Is that on purpose? Like, if you were to find a good match, you're not going to pay for that app anymore. You're out of their pool of users.
Right. Is the purpose of dating app to extract value from the individual user based on like the most core human need and not actually give you any good dates? I assume yes. I mean,
You assume yes.
I don't know what other reason
Yeah.
the dating app space would exist, you know? It's
Well,
meaning like
okay.
it's they don't have the person's best interest in mind because they're a company, right?
Mm-hmm.
If they were a marriage license company, then they would have the person's best interest in mind.
Well, and the
It's
problem with
Oh,
just
all like the direct to
yeah.
consumer apps is it's always churn is always the problem. So it's like
Yeah.
if dating
Right.
apps were
That's
just
right.
you
It's
show
like
up,
yeah.
you
Yeah,
get
yeah.
one and done, and you found
Right.
the person,
immediately
great. Your
churned.
algorithms are great.
Yeah.
Yeah, your immediate churn,
Right.
like a 7-day free trial, great, love it.
So yeah, you would have to bake all that in whenever you're getting investment, right? You couldn't be like, yeah, we have a 99% churn rate because our dating app is so good. You would never get any investment.
What if the dating app? What if it wasn't just about getting that first date? What if it did something where like it captured the experience, like the whole thing somehow? You're like, I don't know, reviewing each date, and it's like helping you provide some like qualitative data around like how did you feel about that? Like you both sort of journal the experience afterwards, and it tries to see if you're still a match. I don't know. They'd have. I'm just trying to fight the churn idea and figure out what
Well,
the product
Well,
well,
needs to do.
or it could be based on like entertainment districts in a city. Like you'd have to do all your bookings through the dating app so that you increase bookings at restaurants and like whatever other events people are trying to promote. Because then it's about the small businesses and not about
true.
just running through
Right.
dates.
Go
All your
local.
date
Yep.
bookings go through the app instead.
If we were to assume that dating apps are trying to get people together, what would those AI features be? Like, for example, I feel like one thing that would be very useful would be an AI facilitator early on. Like, I saw this clip from the 90s. It was about AOL dating. People are meeting people online, and this lady was saying, this book is so helpful, dating tips, because there you don't really see the human on the other side. And so you need to know what the language and the model for communication is because it's different than human. And that's still 100% true right now is when you chat with someone, you're not seeing the human on the other side. And I'm not sure, besides like getting on a video call or scheduling to meet someone, that you would be able to see the human in a chat. But I think an AI facilitator can help make that interaction smoother. Like, I feel like a lot of women get messages that just say, hey, or hi. And that's an immediate ick. But I can imagine as a man, you're like, I said hi. What's wrong with that? So maybe if there was like an AI bot that was in there that was like asking game questions that are generated on the fly based on the people's profiles, and then you answer in like a timed fashion, and then it spurs conversation, that might be more interesting and helpful. The facilitator could help you like get to an in-person face-to-face interaction quicker because I would assume that the sooner you get to a face-to-face interaction, the sooner you know what's going on. You see the human on the other side and you can make a decision or you can see if there's a connection or something there. But being in that chat phase is in itself just a problem.
It makes me think about like every romantic comedy ever where there's like the person at dinner and they have like the earpiece because somebody's outside with a walkie-talkie coaching them on how to
Yes.
ask
Yes.
questions. This is the AI
Exactly.
training coach. But it actually is interesting if I feel like you could almost introduce video, like video profiles or, some way where you're connecting over video, like if it is a video call, if there is some AI layer that's like helping almost like help, particularly for women, qualify the leads, so to speak. It's like making sure like this is
Yes.
worth you having a video call with or trying to get to that experience more in person a little bit sooner. And video would obviously be better than chat would be. I'll just say mixers. Why are we not?
Oh my gosh.
Should mixers
Yes.
come back? I mean, I feel like, is there
Yes.
an
Well,
opportunity
that's a
here?
that's what I was like. It begs the question: when has dating worked like before? Right? At what time is our baseline of the correct way to date? Who
Arranged
even knows
marriages.
what good dating is? Is it arranged
Arranged marriages
marriages?
right away. Gets to the end right from the
Or when
beginning.
did dating? When did you do dating before? Right? I think
Well,
Shivani
you
told
had
me this
those
before. It
videos.
was well, even before that, it was like your local community or some
Mhm.
kind of communal aspect. It's like church or something like that. So, does that give us the best dates, or is that based on some flawed thing too? And we need to rethink how dating is with Gen AI for some. It's some.
Okay, I like what you said. Here's why I really like what you said because in the first interaction of meeting someone, you don't really know them. You don't really know if there is any potential there. But in school, at work, you can meet someone a dozen times before you even consider that possibility.
Mm-hmm,
And we don't have that option in a dating app.
mm-hmm.
It's make a decision now based on no information without seeing any humanness in the person. That feels impossible. I think the solution is dating apps should not exist. Let's just
Well,
cut them out.
this is kind of an overlap with what we're talking about with job search, where if we think about
Mm.
dating and like the goals of it in different contexts, like is job search really about trying to help people network and build that kind of community from a professional standpoint, and then dating is really about like trying to find the right community from like a personal standpoint. So like maybe there's a larger question, just like how can AI help make that happen? And I honestly think like right now it's like we're so starved for human interaction that there was one meme that came up just with the OpenAI ChatGPT 4.0 launch, and it was just like we're proud to announce that we've delayed or we're no longer experiencing human interaction, and it just showed like the circle and that was it like on the screen. And but it is true, like to some level it enables a lot of things, but I think it's interesting to think about it in the context of maybe it takes away some typical human interactions through chats or videos, but how can it enable more in-person interactions? Like I think it's an interesting question to think about.
Okay, now that you say job search, that makes me think for job search, I would reach out to my network or people I know and they would ask around for me. So that's what it should be for dating is your friends ask around for you, but maybe the AI is like suggesting to them, "Hey, this person's good for it's another AI that's your agent that's with you and is like making the match second degree." I don't know how AI fits into this. This is a hard one.
Maybe it doesn't.
Maybe it doesn't.
what does what does the AI know about love? What does it know about dating in
It
the
knows
first
about
place?
data, it knows about matching. AIs don't know about love.
But I
It's
think
very
that's the
true.
hard part. It's like there's probably more hard quantitative data in the job search. So maybe like it feels better there. Dating gets into like a lot of that's just like fuzzy. And I even think job searches are too. At some level, somebody
Yeah.
could look great on paper, but you just doesn't vibe with a company, or you don't have like. So I think there's like we're hitting that friction of like this is not an AI. AI won't solve that problem. So I kind of think how can it make humans
Well,
better at that, or push that, like how can there be more human interaction in a job search as a result of AI doing other parts of it, or same thing in dating. I think that's where I think like AI can help the things it's good at, but enable humans to do more of what they're good at.
what you said I think is important because then it goes into that's why there's recruiters and that's why there are matchmakers. And so the
Yes.
AI needs to then integrate into those people's workflows and the regular people just get to do whatever they do.
AI enabled human matchmaker. That's love
Correct.
that.
Because
Love
they
that.
know something else. There's a whole show that Shibano had recommended that I watch
Indian
called
matchmaker?
Indian Matchmaker, and she makes her whole
Yeah.
living on matchmaking into a arranged marriage kind of situation. And there's a whole industry of recruiters, right? And that existed before in e-tech. Same with matchmaking.
Okay, so along that vein, and this actually applies to jobs too. So companies use personality tests like the Myers-Briggs to assess people's strengths and weaknesses and communication styles. Some companies more than others, but that exists in the corporate world. Why doesn't that exist in the dating world? Maybe there's some way that AI can help with all the nuance of personality and using that to match people along with a matchmaker.
See, I'm just getting close to thinking that job search and dating should just completely reverse roles. And you basically, like in the dating world, you have to write cover letters and you have to send in a resume
Yeah.
and go through a multi-stage like hiring process with like the person's family. Like you need to talk to all members of their family before you can even
Yeah,
meet them. And then the
references.
job search side, it's completely. I think
References.
you do mixers and you just speed job search. You just go from person to person. You're just talking to each hiring manager across just real quick to get the qualitative inputs. Just turn the whole thing all over.
Yeah, it's a great
That
idea.
makes
Love it.
sense.
Are we bringing arranged marriage back? Is that what's happening?
It feels like it.
Oh no.
Well, arranged marriages is good to think through because that is not a arranged marriage is not like a simple act, right?
Hmm.
There's a lot of effort from both sides to arrange the marriage. So they're saying arranged marriage is not just like these two people get arranged to
Well,
come
okay.
together. There's a gigantic efforts to do the arranged marriage in the first place, right?
Not always. So the reason that it can be done without there being a gigantic effort is because there is a framework that it lives on. There's often a religious framework that it lives on. And we're out in the dating world not really fitting into any religious or spiritual framework, which again, probably why people meet people at church. And so I'm saying we need some equivalent framework that is non-religious, a secular framework that helps everyone get aligned and creates a sense of community, and that would help with dating. And maybe this touches on the bigger problem of it's hard to find community because of our isolated consumerist culture.
I think the Gen AI we have to solve for is how do we go beyond what has isolated us for the last however many years? How do we use Gen AI to bring us back to being human? It's almost like we're all too awkward now because of how isolated we are, and we need a Gen AI to coach us back into living in the world.
Okay, last item is travel. And by travel, I mean like booking flights, booking hotels. How can that be improved in small ways or in big ways using generative AI tools?
Has anybody booked any travel recently?
I have booked travel and there wasn't anything generative AI involved in the process, but I feel like, again, back to that Amazon review summary example, TripAdvisor and Booking.com, those reviews could be condensed and summarized in helpful ways. Yeah, I mean, this is one of those tar pit problems. I've heard that idea so many times where people are like, oh, it's one website, you say what you want, you say what your interests are. It combines everything into one itinerary, and I don't know if that's enabled yet.
Yeah, you almost need, this is sort of in the AI agent realm where it's like, I'm just going to give you a list of things to do. Here are the parameters. go book, find the right flight. Because even the flight thing, you can watch the flight and it'll tell you when there's an alert on a best price. But I'd rather you just book it and send me
Oh
a
yeah.
text or an email to just confirm that you're going to book it. You know all my information, just fill it out for me. So I feel like that part to me is what feels like the headache. It's like I'd want that part to be solved. Like just do all the booking, the flights, the hotels. There's probably more opportunities for like,
Yeah.
trip planning and itineraries could be really interesting. Like that's the fun part. That's more of the part people enjoy, like getting recommendations on food places and
Oh
how
yeah.
that could connect. But I think that could be interesting if you just use the AI agent to try and book all the travel.
I feel like that would be a really interesting B2B solve. Like I could see corporate travel, like there being something there for AI helping with itineraries.
Well, and some of like the Gen AI tools where you're like, it's a chat interface, but your prompt generates a UI that you can interact with rather than just a dump of text, images, whatever. I think that could be interesting in this context. Like I'm chatting with the chat bot, but it's going to give me a list of the flights. I can kind of pick it, change my parameters, filter it. Yeah, book this one. Okay. So maybe it's not, I was thinking future state is it goes out and just does it for you and you're just confirming along the way. But this could be more guided experience where you're picking those things and selecting preferences. It's giving you questions that are like multiple choice. You can select like what are your food preferences, when do you like to eat, like that sort of stuff to build the itinerary. It could be interesting. So it's all one like chat interface, but it's giving you bespoke UIs that you can use.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that sounds
Seems like
awesome.
for all of these, which I guess should be obvious because we're talking about consumers, in every single case, we want the best of the thing we're asking for. And it seems like in every case, there's too much information to be able to distinguish what the best of any one thing is. And
Yeah, I like that.
maybe that's where all these companies make all their money is in the ambiguity. And the Gen AI we're
Yeah.
proposing is gonna blast through all that ambiguity. So then, yeah, I don't know where the
I mean,
companies then exist.
I really like that call out, but Amazon's again their review summary, it gets through the ambiguity, but I'm sure it shrinks purchase decision time by a lot
Mm,
because you are going to pick something. It's between two products on their platform, and so
hmm
you pick one faster. So that in that case it seems like both a good business decision and a great decision for the user. Another thing I'll point out, I feel like that's common among all the ideas we've talked about is chat interfaces don't seem to be the best way to uh, include an LLM or generative AI in your app, or at least not the only way. And so that's really great because I feel like chat has its use cases, but there are definitely other really productive and valuable ways to use this technology.
Yeah, I think what's interesting about this is like just all of the consumer apps. It's trying to identify is the company's interests and their bottom line aligned with the consumer goals that they're trying to
Right,
meet. And it feels
right.
like we were like, well, in a world where the company's objective is just to satisfy the consumer goals, sure, they could probably, even today, could build a great experience. But then it's misaligned with what their bottom line is and what they're trying to
Yeah,
achieve, which I think is where
right.
that's the problem. So like they almost want you to fumble through a checkout experience because they can upsell you on insurance
Right.
and you click the thing and it's really confusing and you're not sure, like trying to cancel an account. Like I saw a video of somebody trying to cancel their Zoom account. And it was like 12 screens just to get out of it, and they're trying to upgrade you and downgrade you to this plan. And, so I think that part is where a lot of the consumer experiences fall apart.
All right, cool. Well, that was really fun. Thank you guys for joining me. And if you all want to learn more about Differential, you can reach out to us at differential.com.